for. I'm going for those husband brownie points that I can bank and then, use as needed when necessary.
Those are the most important points. Those and father points, right?
That's it. That's it.
I hear that. All right. First and foremost, I met Craig via one of the online writers groups, and he runs. I believe you run it, right? It's something that you established.
Black Screenwriters Group.
Yes, the Black Screenwriters Group.
Yes, it's a Facebook group that I started. Black Screenwriters, and currently we have over 15,000 members. Started it about 5 years ago, and it's the space that I created. And I'm really very hands-on because I want it to be a space of information and empowerment, and not to get into silly arguments about, Tyler Perry or what this movie did, or do you hate that movie? That is not what we do. There are in the group, there are not only screenwriters emerging and also established screenwriters. There are working screenwriters in the group. There are showrunners in the group. There are managers and agents in the group. So when you say something silly, it goes out to all those people that eventually, hopefully, you want to work with and be in a conversation with. So it's my attempt to help people craft their conversations. And you can ask anything about the craft and business of screenwriting. That is all open. And I encourage people to build community. So when you sent these questions, the first question being, what is the most fundamental action a novice screenwriter needs to take? One of those things is building community, is finding writers who you're going to grow with, who you're going to network with. The people that I met when I started almost 20 years ago are some of my best friends now. And some of them are showrunners and TV writers and producers, because people move up and around and over and, dip and have different careers. Some leave, some grow into different spaces, some become directors. So you're creating a community that's, going to last a lifetime. So, develop a writing community, whether that is someone that you meet with every couple of weeks or every month, and you all share your pages. That's really important. I've had a writers group for 10 years, and they're my best friends. And we meet every couple of weeks or whenever our schedules allow, and we just swap pages, 5, 10, 15, 20 pages, and we read them out loud and we critique each other. And it's the safe space where you can grow as an artist and make mistakes, and people will be honest with you. And I've had people move in and out of that. So even though I have like 5 or 6 really core people that come every couple of weeks, they have people who have come and then left, after 1 week, after 1 year. Doesn't matter. I'm showing up. I got to show up for me. I'm showing up for my work, and I'm showing up for the people who show up for me. So create a writing.
That's really the principle of iron sharpens iron.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? That's awesome. I think that's very important. I am in the process of developing my writers community. I have a few people that I am able to send pages to. So I think that is very important. I definitely agree with that. Let's go to this second question. So in terms of screenplays, what is structure and why is it so important?
Structure, it's a tricky question for some people, because when people hear structure, they hear, well, that's the way you have to do it. And, naturally as artists, we rebel against the thought that we have to do something. But I really believe in the structure of a screenplay, which is in the most simplest forms. Who is the lead? What is your protagonist problem? And what do they need to do over the course of the movie or the TV show in order to fix their problem? And they're usually pursuing a goal, and it's a tangible goal. The goal is not to fall in love. The goal is not to feel better about themselves. The goal is not forgiveness. The goal has to be a tangible thing. Now, again, I'm talking in general terms. Right. You can drill down to the specifics of your story, but your protagonist really has to be on an active journey to get somewhere or to get something. So that's the structure, right? So the first act is the setting up, the meeting of the world. You're introduced to the characters. The second act, which is usually the hardest for people, is then what is that journey? So what is the
Right.
person doing, right? So if you look at Star Wars and Luke Skywalker, the second act, he's trying to find Princess Leia, right? Really, that's all he's doing is he's just trying to find the princess, right? And on the way, he's discovering all these things. He's growing out of the farm boy. He's growing into his manhood. He's growing. He's finding things about things he didn't know about his family and about his past and about this evil empire that exists that wants to take over the world, right? Yeah. Really simple, right? He just wants to find this princess because that's what he thinks he needs to do. And then in the end, he ends up saving humanity and he saves the princess, right? Yep. So that's structure, right? So what you want to do is you want to make your structure simple and you want to make the journey complicated. You want to start throwing in, Darth Vader and evil things and all the things that were in Star Wars that, that's a 40-year-old movie. So lean into structure. And then within the structure, you can be as imaginative as you want to be. It could be on the moon. It could be in your backyard. It doesn't matter. But find the structure of your story. And that, from within that, you can be as just brilliant as you need to be.
And why is that important? Why is it important to have or follow a structure?
Well, it's important to follow a structure because naturally that's how stories are told. We are all natural storytellers. And listen, there's a format. There's a movie format. There's a movie format that people understand. There's a movie format that we've been watching for decades. And if you are a new writer and the first thing you want to do is not do that, guess what? People then look at your script like, well, listen, young blood, you don't know what you're doing, right? And it comes out sloppy and it comes out uninformed and it looks silly. And you just don't look like you're serious about your craft because structure is craft. It is not you just making things up. There's a craft to what we do. So you have to pay homage and you have to be respectful to your craft. And your craft is structure. And that's what's going to save you. Once you learn that structure, play with it, move it around, do other things, but learn it first. That's your journey.
And, I think one of the things that Craig is pointing to is that the audience or readers have an expectation that you have to meet.
Yes.
But once you meet that expectation, they also want you to disrupt that with surprise, with irony, things like that along the way. So there is sort of this dynamic of structure and ingenuity.
Yes, absolutely. 1000%. Within that structure, you can surprise people. You can surprise people with an amazing character, with an amazing set piece, with this relationship, with a world that we haven't seen before. So, and people are going to say, oh, this person knows what they're doing. And now they're introducing me to, now I'm reading Set It Off, right? Which is about 4 Black women. I'm talking to, I'm just talking to the Black people. So, so you're doing like, Set It Off, when it came out, it was 4 Black women the way we had never seen them before. But it was a very traditional heist movie.
Yeah. Yep.
So what's your world? And that's where we come as creative artists. We're coming with our own voice. We're coming with our own experience. And we're doing tweaks on things that have been done over and over and over again. But your voice belongs to you. And your job is to develop that voice. And you can do that. But find the structure first.
And that's come up so many times in a few other interviews that I've come up with in terms of voice. What would you say is one of the things that most help a writer develop their voice?
The best way to develop your voice is to write a lot of things badly.
Okay.
And the reason that that's important is because, even me, I've written tons and tons of things, but listen, I'm not immune to what I've seen. Like, I am a collection of everything I've seen. Everything from The Godfather to Set It Off to The Golden Girls to what all the things that I love, I'm watching them. And so sometimes when I start to write, some of those things come out, right? Especially in those early drafts. I'm quote unquote borrowing from all the things I love, whether it's a moment, whether it's a character, whether it's a cool concept. So I have to get that out of my head and get it on to the page to see, okay, I took a little bit of that from this movie. I took a little bit of that from that saying. This character I've seen before. That's why it's in my head. That's why I love it. So I've got this first messy draft full of things that are me and things that are other people. And then my journey as a writer is to write all that other stuff out, to write all the stuff out that belongs to other people, or to bring my version of that thing. Like if you're doing a heist movie, right? So if I were to do a heist movie right now, I've got all the heist movies in my head, whether it's Dog Day Afternoon, whether it's Set It Off, whether it's, Reservoir Dogs, all of those things were in my head. So now what is my version of all those things? And that's my job as a writer, is to, write all that stuff out. So that's what rewriting is for. You're rewriting, finding your voice, finding what's special about the story that you want to tell, that only you can tell, but you got to make sure that none of those other little things are in there from other people.
And when producers or screen competitions are looking, how important is voice in terms of them distinguishing a script out from the others? Voice
is everything. I mean, really, at the end of the day, voice is everything. And it's one of those things that is really hard to explain what voice is, but when people read it, they know it. And you've either got a particular sense of humor, or you've got a particular sense of style about the way that you write, or you've got a particular point of view. And it doesn't always need to be polished perfect, but it makes you sit up and pay attention. It's like, oh, this person is saying something about the world that they come from. This person is saying something about the world that they are building here. They've got a really specific point of view. So that's why Quentin Tarantino, right? He had a really specific point of view. Spike Lee had a really specific point of view about his world. And that jumped off the page when you read it.
That is the truth. That is the truth. All right. This is excellent right now. Okay. So what stories are popular or being sold in the marketplace right now?
Right now in the industry, the key word really is authenticity. And it kind of goes back to your voice, your authentic voice. What is showing up in your script that feels like something I haven't seen before, but really feels really specific to the writer and their journey. So right now, if you look at the landscape of TV, there's a lot of, and this has been happening for a few years. And again, I'm not an expert, but this is what I'm experiencing. Even my pilot, How You Like Me Now, about the rap rivalry between Kumo D and LL Cool J, that comes from my experience on a couple of different levels. It comes from my experience of watching Mo, who's my cousin, ascend, from the beginning of hip hop to, the heights of hip hop, and then fall again. Right. But I'm also, so that's the public face, but I'm also seeing the private battle of, dysfunctional family. Even though he had both of his parents, he is a person of really strong convictions about life and about everything. He was raised Catholic, but he's an atheist. He's like a committed atheist, but he was raised, he has a brother and a sister. Again, everybody's raised Catholic. His brother is Muslim, converted to Islam, and his sister is a born again Christian, who used to go to protests, to go to anti-rap protests. While he was at the height of his fame, his sister is going to anti-rap protests because they were anti-religious, they were misogynistic, and in the early days there was some problems with lyrics and all the male energy. Right, yeah. So, and not everybody loved rap in the beginning, which people forget. Right. And his sister was one of those people. Even though his paycheck is supporting the family, she was actively against rap. So that is a voice that's a story in a way that hasn't been seen before. So it isn't just about hip hop. It is also about the personal journey. Then I'm also adding in my journey as a Black man, who grew up in Harlem, with my family and also just looking at fatherhood and familyhood and how family runs, and how hip hop was a bunch of young kids, teenagers really, who were bonding together to have fun, but were also looking for family. Right. So people are looking for stories that are going to bring them a theme of something. So mine is about family. Mine is, and I write a lot about that, especially around Black families. Right. And that's my voice. That's what I bring. But whatever it is you bring, that's why you see a lot of things now, especially around, LGBTQ stories. You see a lot of stories around, all of us ethnicities out there, whether you're Asian or Latinx or Black, African, Caribbean. Everybody's looking for authentic stories and authentic points of view. So your history, your family, everything matters. And what we've been taught up to then is like, we need to whitewash that. We need to kind of play it down. We need to make it more palatable for mainstream audiences. And there's still some major networks that do that. But for the most part, all the streamers, all the premium channels, everybody's looking for that really strong, authentic voice from your really own experience. So you have to share a lot more of yourself that you might feel comfortable doing, but it's important to the story.
It reminds me of, I think it was Hemingway who said that if you want to write, all you need to do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed.
That's it. That's like for real. And it's so timely. When I get a chance to pitch, whether it's a TV show or I'm pitching on another idea, I find a way to bleed a little bit. I find a way to bring my own personal experience to the story that I'm telling. Sometimes I do it with, a little blood, but a little humor. But I'm like the reason I can tell this story that you want me to write or that I've written is because my lived experience is connected to that. So I'm always finding the connection to the story. So, and that's just the work that we all have to do.
Give him that back, please. I'm so sorry.
No, hey man, this is one of the things. It's like there's real life going on for you right now, right? You got kids in there. You doing your hustle from home.
Yes, open that for him. Sit down at the ottoman, and you can eat that. Thank you, Anaya. All right.
What's your shirt say? What's your shirt?
It says, DILF, dedicated, innovative, and loving father.
There you go, right? That's powerful, right? So any story that you're going to come up with, I always connect my journey as a dad to the stories that I'm telling because it's for real, right? I got a 16-year-old in there who's in there with his girlfriend. And I have to keep, one eye open to make sure there's nothing happening that shouldn't be happening in there, right? So I'm like, I gotta go by, bang some pots and make sure nothing else is going on in there that shouldn't be going on. But that's real life, and that is the thing that we gotta bring to our art.
Okay, I love that. How does a novice screenwriter build up their value in the industry?
Yeah, a novice screenwriter builds up their value by writing a lot of things. You got to keep writing. People don't necessarily want the right thing. They want a lot of things. They want you to keep growing as a writer. Because that first thing you write, it may have some great ideas. It may have some great moments. But if you're a newer to the writing game, and it happens 1 in a billion, it might be brilliant, but it's not, right? It's your authentic self. It is something that the new writer or that beginning writer is, just bringing those stories that have been on their heart. They're usually personal. They're usually about the writer, almost always. So what people want you to do is to take that thing that you believe is you, and then really your value will be how to do it for other people.
Got you.
So many writers that I meet, it's like, yeah, I got the story. I want to tell it. It's important. It's like, here, listen, let me just tell you a little bit of honesty. Nobody wants to tell your story. Nobody. You want to tell your story, but nobody wants you to tell your story. Your value in this business will be writing for others. You're going to get, somebody's going to read that thing. Oh, Marquise's got a great voice. I have a story that I bought. I bought a book. I bought a podcast. I bought a this, and I need a writer for that. And I read in your thing that great voice that I need for my thing. You have something you want to write? Oh, that's cute. Nobody cares, right? It took Steven Spielberg 15 years to make Schindler's List. Nobody wanted to make it. And he was Steven Spielberg. Wow. It took Lin-Manuel Miranda 10 years to make In the Heights. And he's Lin-Manuel Miranda. So your personal stories are much harder to do. People want to hire you to make their thing successful. That is producers, that is studios, that is the way that the business runs, because they spend a lot of money on properties and they want to bring those properties to life, and they're always looking for writers to write those things.
Yes. Okay. See, I told you guys this was going to be some game. I hope you guys taking notes, boy. All right. Once they build up their value, what is the next step for the novice writer?
That's a tricky question, because building up value, because your value is going to be in what you can do for others, the quicker you learn how to write something and then let it go, the better off you'll be. Some writers I know write something and it's like they wrote the Bible. They are attached to it in a way. They're attached to every word. They're attached to every note. They're attached to every scene. And they can't hear notes, and they can't hear anybody saying anything bad about it. Because it's a personal thing. You've written this personal story, even if it's for hire. It feels really personal to you if you spent 6 months or a year or 2 years writing this thing. And then somebody comes in and says, on page 17, I didn't like you. Like, wait, what are you talking about? And then you get defensive. And then I heard somewhere that getting notes from somebody feels like somebody's trying to kill you.
Wow.
It hits that part of your brain that's like there's a fire happening, right? And so you're just like, you recoil. And that's our natural instinct. Even me, I've got notes from so many people, but my instinct is like, what do you mean you don't like it? How can you not like it, love it, right? So I've learned to manage that, right? Or manage that response, because it's going to happen, because it's involuntary. Right. And then, then I get into listening mode and hearing. And if I'm a writer for hire, which I have been a lot, I have to learn that other person is paying the check, writing the check, paying the bill. It is their story. It ain't mine. I'm like, you know what? I love that change. I'm going to write it in for you. I love it. Great idea. And then I move on. And even if it's my own, right? So I have this pilot that I have that's really personal to me. Somebody will give me a note and I will roll my eyes. I will get mad. I'll get black in a second, and then I will unblacken. And then I'll pull myself from the abyss, and then I'll hear what it is they have to say. And then I'll find a way to push it through my instrument as a writer and fulfill that note. But I'm never struggling with anybody. I am never going to battle anybody over a note. You want me to change it? I'm going to change it, because I'm going to live to write another thing. I'm not just writing that one thing. I'm writing all things. So if I become
Right.
that combative person who can't take a note, nobody wants to mess with me. Now, I want to be clear. I can also, as you can tell, argue away or convince somebody why that thing is there, and they may back off it. So if it's something I really think that's important, I will stand up for my characters. I will stand up for my moments. I will stand up for whatever it is. And if I'm good at that, which sometimes I really am, they're like, oh, I see that. Because I want them to see that I've done the work too, that it wasn't just willy-nilly. So you have to start to get the language for how to speak to people to plead your case. And that comes from doing the work on the page and making sure that you really, really understand what your story is so that you can stand up for yourself and stand up for your characters. But if push comes to shove, I'm like, yeah, what you want me to do, boss?
The page signal still clear.
That's it, because I said my piece, and now I'm just gonna move on because I'm not dying on that hill. It's just not that important. It's just not. So.
And they say, I guess this is a very popular saying in the screenwriting world is, and this is not me in any way trying to endorse this, but they say you write drunk and edit sober.
Yes.
It's almost like, you when you're writing, it's very subjective, very much a personal thing.
Yeah.
Once that bad boy is out there and done, you have to divorce yourself from it to an extent.
Let it go. Let it go. And let me tell you, just so people understand, I've been running this production company with my wife going on 20 years, and we've made over, somewhere between 50 and 100 projects. I don't even know. Right. So in the structure of our company, I am the writer and the producer, and she's often the director for the projects that we've done. So I'm writing these things. Right. And now I'm giving it to the director, my wife. Right. So it's all that complication of marriage and living together and parenting and finances and do you love me and all that other stuff mixed into what I just wrote. Right. And now I have to give it to her and she'd be like, I don't get that part. So what do you mean you don't get it? Why is it not clear? Right. So now I'm getting in my blackness again. Now she's in her blackness, and the black women will win blackness all the time. So but the thing that I had to learn, which is really great training ground, is I have to trust that she is seeing the story the way she wants to put it up on screen. So at some point, the producer in me fires the writer so that writer does not show up and get in the way. And now all I'm doing is supporting the director and telling the vision of the story. Gotcha. Now, if they need the writer at any point, I can call them up on the phone, like, hey, Craig, yeah, what's up? It's Craig. We got a problem with the script. Can you just run right over real quick? So that we can have a discussion about those things. So it was great training ground for me to go out into the world, because listen, y'all ain't got nothing on Rosalind Coleman Williams, because
man, you got like this, instead of bipolar, it's tripolar, boy.
Exactly.
You wear all kinds of stuff. I hear that.
Yeah.
Is there any other thing you're attached to that you would like to share with this audience? Like, I know your production company, and do you have any other thing you do, like services, writing, anything you want to plug?
Yeah. I mean, I do. I coach a lot of writers. I think it's important for me, especially young Black writers, which is why I created Black Screenwriters, because there needs to be a place where we can get information. Right now, yes. I mean, for years growing up, me in the beginning of this business, I remember at the very beginning meeting some dude who was a big screenwriter. He's a Black screenwriter. He was a neighbor, and he had a big movie that just came out that he wrote. Right. And I was new. Right. I just started screenwriting, and he was a friend of my wife's, and my wife said, hey, do you mind? Congratulations. Do you mind giving Craig some tips on being a screenwriter? Anything you want to share with them? And he was just like, I don't know, I'll find some time. I don't know. And then I see him, right? So he's a neighbor, and I see him, and he turns away from me like I owe him money.
Ouch.
And to this day, he's still a neighbor, and he has not said a word to me in 15 years. Not one word. Not anything. Now, he hasn't had another hit also. since then. So that may be it.
Point that out.
But it just said to me, I said, I never, ever, ever want to be that dude. I will never be the dude that turns away from another Black person looking for some information. That is just
Amen.
nonsense. Because,
Yes.
and because, and I've been blessed to meet so many people who believe that. I know some people believe that crabs in a barrel thing. And just because there's one crab, don't mean there's a barrel. It just means it's that crab. Just toss them out, cook them up, and put them in some butter. You're done, right? So what I've done, what my wife and I have really been intentional about is sharing information. She's an actor. She's done Broadway, film, and television. She meets with lots of young actresses and mentors them and coaches them. And I meet with a lot of writers and filmmakers. And I reach out to them and they reach out to me, and I'm always open to answer a question. If you need more, if you need me to read a script, if you need a consultation on you're making a movie and how do I make this and not lose my shirt, I'm happy to have those conversations with you, because this stuff I can do for free, and this stuff that I'm going to charge for because it requires more time and energy from me. But I really do believe that information is easy and information is necessary for our journey, so we don't make the mistakes that so many of us had to make in the beginning of this. There's so many resources. And that's really why I built Black Screenwriters. I wanted a place for all those people who have been through this journey to come in and say, this is how you do that. This is how you do that. No, that wasn't my experience. This is important. This is what's going on now. Because if we don't share that information, we'll make mistakes. There's still a lot of fools in the group. There's still a lot of nonsense. And I kick them out one by one, unapologetically. I will block you.
I remember that.
Without remorse. We don't have time. We don't have time for that, right? If you're not serious about the business of being an artist, and being an artist is a business, then nobody has time for that. So be serious about your business.
That's right. You have an email or anything you might want to plug?
Yeah, you can, either join Black Screenwriters Group, or you can hit me up on all social media. Redwall Pro, either it's on IG or on Twitter, and reach out with a question, and then we can start a conversation there if you are interested in how I can be of service to you.
Awesome. Yeah. Craig, thank you so much. This was phenomenal. This was, I think, very helpful. I appreciate your time. I definitely appreciate your energy.
Listen, I can talk mess all day. So I don't know if this is PG related, but I cleaned it up for you. So this can go out to families. That too. But yeah, I just think, we got to share this information. We got to share this knowledge. So I appreciate, you having this forum, because, somebody's got to make the effort to, do a podcast or make the space in which they connect to people and then find the people to get the information. So there's no excuse anymore, people. It's all out there. Somebody is trying to get that information to you in some way. So you can't come on Black Screenwriters and say, how do I become a screenwriter? I'm like, listen, you. And then I have to unblacken. I got to pull back. And I gotta take a deep breath, and then I gotta give help and resources. But right away, I'm a little mad at y'all for the basic questions because you haven't done the work. So do some work. Right. This podcast is an opportunity to get some of that information.
That is it. I appreciate you again, man.